You'll notice that in a lot of rhythm games, whenever someone gets a score that is shown to be the highest existing score of that song, that score is then denoted as a world record until someone else can beat it. This makes perfect sense on the surface. However, this term can be thrown around a tad too much to the point where it almost loses its meaning, and we'll go over what that entails in a bit. This can go for other terms that people use as well, whether it's number one, first ever, etc. These terms can become unreliable and misleading to use if used too hastily. While some communities do this more than others, I don't necessarily want to target any specific community, as all of them are guilty of it one way or another. I started to take concern with how the term has evolved over the years, and I thought I would give my stance on what communities should at least consider before slapping some sort of world record stamp on their videos, or wherever you are documenting your scores. Keep in mind that there is no objectivity to this, and that this is simply my take on what I believe what the standards of a world record should be. My requirements are pretty short and to the point. My first requirement that I think communities should consider is that the song that is being scored on has to be competitive. This doesn't mean that 100,000 lower skilled players can play the song and obtain average scores on it. That simply makes it competitive between that field. Obtaining a world record should have other top players involved, which will make the score much more credible as something that the rest of the world would struggle to beat. My other requirement is a bit more nitpicky, but I feel like whenever players are competing for a world record, that song should at least be released for a decent amount of time before multiple players start deeming it as a world record. Stating a specific time period would be a bit over the top and frankly a bit impractical, but I do think top players should at least be able to gauge that length pretty well by now. When a song is first released in a rhythm game, it usually takes time for players to know how to develop the proper muscle memory for that game, and saying that a score is the best score there when it hasn't really been explored thoroughly enough just seems a bit odd to me. Lastly, if a player is going to get a score on the song that is technically the best score, but does not fulfill the previous requirements I stated, I think it would be in a player's best interest to simply denote it as a personal best, rather than, again, skipping to the conclusion of a world record. I think a fantastic example of this is at AGDQ 2014, when a runner by the name of Dragon Arch SDA got what was technically a world record, but he was aware that the category he ran was not competitive at all, thus announcing it as a PB or personal best.
What's the final time? PB!
If you made it through my 3 minutes of nitpicking, that was more or less the point of this video. I just wanted to give my thoughts on a term that I think gets thrown around a tad too much in rhythm games. In the end, I just want to say that I have nothing against these players using these terms for their videos. I know in some cases it's used as a basic marketing strategy, for genuine world records, or the player is simply not aware. And all three of these cases are completely understandable. I think anyone who is already relatively successful with rhythm games knows that, and I don't blame them at all and take no personal issue with them doing that. The goal of this video is just to make sure that people are not being misled. Most casual spectators of rhythm games tend to think every good score they see is blindly considered a world record when the player deems it as such, and I think that can be a bad habit any emerging community can develop in the future. Thank you so much for watching this. Check out my sellout links below. I will see you all in whatever video I upload next, and take care.